News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We're here with you until the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us. Lots of questions on today's show, and coming up a little later, how homeowners, how all of you can avoid mortgage relief scams. They're out there. We've got some tips for you. That's coming up a little later on. We thank these folks for joining us today. Chuck Crosby, he is the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do, of course, closings and an excellent job. But among the things they do, besides doing powers of attorney and wills, so important for so many people. I can't go into stress this enough. You need to have a will for your family. Just know. Also here, Randy Rocky. He is one of the head guys over at Swan Financial. They do a great job at getting you pre-approved and to the closing table. You can reach Chuck to get your loan closed at 499-6360. And you can reach Randy to apply for the loan at 645-0736. And if you are thinking of selling your home now or in next year, the near future, or even beyond, you can call me if you'd like. I would love to be able to help you. You can reach me directly on my cell phone. That's area code 502-376-5483. Or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com. That's bobsellslouisville.com. All right. Got lots of questions here. And this first one, let's take it right on the top here, Randy. This past Wednesday, the Fed said they're not going to raise short-term rates. That was good news. Haley wrote us the other day. She said, with all that happening and interest rates short-term left alone, what does that mean for buyers and sellers? How does that translate hopefully, and helping in buying and selling? Randy?
Yeah, so this is three sessions in a row on short-term rates that they have not raised them, and we've seen a downtick in rates. A lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of people feel like that there is going to be a recession the first quarter of next year, and the job market now has been adjusted, and we don't have, again, we have 40% less jobs around the holiday season this year compared to last year. So the job market is really tough right now, which drives interest rates down. Inflation is definitely dropping, which drives interest rates down. So you put that with a recession, I think it was the perfect storm going up, and I think it's going to be the perfect storm starting to come down.
So we'll see rates coming down. I heard predictions of in the fives by towards the mid to end of 2024. You agree with that?
Well, we're in the fours. We have a 4.875 rate right now. We've really APR 4.92, NMLS number 26362, and we're the company that's definitely leading in interest rate, and our service is phenomenal. So we're already there.
I got you. And that's a great deal. We'll talk more about that maybe this show in the weeks to come as well. Let's go over to Chuck Crosby over at the Crosby Law Offices. Robert listens to us every week. He actually called me this past week and asked, because he's going to be out of town next week, he says he needs an answer to this question, Chuck. He owns a single-family home. It's a rental property. He currently is in a midterm of a one-year lease with the renter, but he wants to know, can he sell the house and terminate the lease with the renter when he sells, even there are still months, at least maybe five or 6 months left on the lease? Chuck?
Quick answer is yes, he can sell anytime he wants as long as he can find a buyer. But no, he cannot change that lease. That lease is in force. Anybody that buys the property subject to that lease.
And it's funny. I told him that. I said, listen, I'm not an attorney. And I would tell you, this is what I think Chuck is going to say. There's no way to get around that. The lease goes with the property until it ends.
It does.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah. We all have heard that possession is 9/10 of the law. Well, the fact is, when you lease a property, you've given over possession. And in reality, possession is a vast part of the ownership of real estate. So you've given over an interest in the property. The lease just can't disappear.
Let me throw this at you. If it's a verbal agreement, and I don't think this is, Robert didn't say that, but I'm just forward projecting here. Let's just say it's a handshake and, okay, you got a year lease at this amount of money. Can you break that because it's verbal?
No. Verbal lease is just as good as long as it can be performed in the space of 1 year. So a verbal lease for 2 years is no good. Okay. But a verbal lease for 1 year is just as good. Now it gets into proof, if one party
Mhm.
says, oh, no, this is what we agreed to,
Yeah.
as I always say, a short pencil is better than a long memory. Yeah, verbal lease, as long as it can be performed under the space or in the space of a year, is just as valid.
We ought to put a book together of
I agree.
Checkisms.
I agree.
Checkism.
That was amazing.
What's the nacho? What's the radiator nachos?
Radiator nachos.
Yeah,
That's the peeling paint, the lead chips on
Yeah.
the old time radiators. You don't eat radiator
You don't.
nachos.
You don't eat any lead-based paint. But yeah, so there's just a little book in this somewhere. All right, we move on. Russell sent us this email. He is planning on selling his home in 2024. He's wondering, should he paint the house inside or outside any specific color or colors to improve its curb appeal and interior appeal for resale? Okay, guys, I know you may or may not know this. Any thoughts on your end?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely.
What would you say?
I know of a house in Valley Station.
Yeah.
The developer who put it together was going all Art Deco, South Miami Beach style. So it was a stucco exterior, and it was painted that Miami Vice pink.
Oh.
The house sat there for over a year with no bites.
Yeah.
They finally said, screw that. So they painted it a normal color, sold within a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pink, not necessarily the best pick. But,
yeah, and not just any pink. We're talking Don Johnson pink.
Well, yeah, flamingo pink.
Yes.
Yeah. So Zillow, I actually checked into this. Zillow looked at 135,000 photos from old houses across the country to new houses and see how paint colors impact sales. Listen to this, folks. This is rather interesting. They found that homes with charcoal or smoky to jet black doors sells for $6,271 more than expected. Can you believe that? Again, charcoal to smoky to jet black doors. And considering that a door paint job can cost maybe $100 to $400 for a bucket of black paint, it's a great investment. And in their study, Zillow also found that tuxedo kitchens. Now, you know what a tuxedo kitchen is?
White and black.
Well, two colors, right? You're right on there. Yeah, so upper cabinets and lower cabinets are painted two different colors. Hopefully they actually look good together, those colors. They actually sell for more money as well, so it may be worth it to do that in staging your home. Well, we give out a lot of information on our show. If you would like to hear or see a rebroadcast, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That is a direct YouTube link, LouisvilleAnswers.com. You can see this show in its entirety and hear some of these answers if you want to share them with some of your friends. We move back on over to Randy Rocky. Zachary is in his 30s, remembers the mortgage crisis, 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and he says he's looking back. What was the cause of the mortgage crisis, and could it happen again, Mr. Rocky at Swan Financial?
Very simply, no. And I'll tell you two reasons why. Number one, if we do have stated income programs, which were back then, no income, no doc programs, but you put 20% down now, where used to you put zero down. The second thing is simple supply and demand, which Bob, you can elaborate on. We have about 38% of the inventory we actually need right now. So and a lot of people, in fact, I had a Facebook post mid-end of last year, and they said appreciation is not going to happen in 2023, and I told everybody it would. And we probably had on the radio show, and it looks like we're going to be up about 6% appreciation this year, and it's going to continue to happen between 3 and 6% because of the simple fact of supply and demand. If you just don't have enough supply, then pricing is not going to drop.
Yeah, and let me just point a couple of things out. So one of the things is that a lot of people have a lot more equity in their home before they did not in the early 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And they were able to walk away because they really weren't losing anything. So homes were going into foreclosure. Those foreclosure homes helped dilute the market and bring prices down.
Right.
The other part of this is the number of homes on the market right now, the absorption rate. And the absorption rate, folks, the way I tell it to all of our sellers, if we turn the faucet off, we don't let any more homes go on the market as of this moment in time, how long would it take the existing homes on the market to be bought or sold to the buyers? And typically anything 6 months or more is a buyer's market. 5 to 6 month neutral, 5 months or less is a seller's market. typically throughout our area, most areas of town, there's a 1 to 2 month inventory of homes. Back in 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, it was 6 months plus. So that you can see the
Yes.
numbers there. So you're
Well,
right on top of
and
it.
when you're talking about equity, you're right. And a lot of loans back then were zero money down loans. We still can do that,
Mm-hmm.
but they were doing zero money down loans at, a 540 credit score. That's not possible anymore. 530, whatever.
Yeah. If you want to see, we pride ourselves on our reviews. All of us do. If you'd like to see what those reviews are, we make it easy. Go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. Those are the reviews that we get from our clients. Chuck Crosby over at the Crosby Law Office. Doogie writes us in this email saying that he's in the process of buying a home. And I don't know if you've heard this or seen this, Chuck. I have. That his agent told him that there are some sellers' agent sections of the multiple listing service. So it's in the agent notes that they have the right to turn down some home inspectors. Have you heard about that particular thing?
Yeah, I have. And yeah, I have heard about that. I think there's a couple of them that frequently show up.
Yeah. And do you want to explain why? You want me to explain?
Go ahead.
All right,
I don't want to have any home inspectors showing up on my front doorstep.
And I don't mind. Show up on my doorstep. I'd love to talk to you about the inferior product that some of you do. It's only a handful. It's less than a handful, but one of them does it by handwriting. There's no report. And I had early in my career, 1 or 2 years into as a real estate agent, about 19, 18 years ago, I received one of his reports. I said, I can't read it. He said, well, that's your job to learn how to read it. Well, I can't read it if you can't understand it. So that's been going on for 19 plus years now. So that was one inspector. And the other inspector, we know because we've heard that he will tell somebody, listen, this house is not worth your time, but find another one. And on the next one, I'll give you a discount on the inspection. So, and this is not just hearsay. This was actual comments that we've heard. So without using names, those are the reasons why some agents in town will say, nope, no good for this inspector or that inspector. And there's some other stories, which I won't get into, that are just too bizarre with these inspectors, but let's just keep it at that. That's the reason why. We move on now. Randy Peter sent us this email. He's planning on buying a new house in Florida next year. He's wondering, how can he avoid being scammed by moving companies? So what should you look out for? So Chuck, Randy, if you don't have them, I've got some stuff for you. Any suggestions on your part?
Pick up the phone, talk to someone with the company, talk to somebody they've used. If you're a moving company, I would imagine that you've got some satisfied customers. If not, why would I want to use you? I am reminded of a local ne'er-do-well, actually evicted the fella from a house, but he set up a company where he would go and pick up the furniture and it never made it to its destination.
Oof.
It's there's just stuff out there. Get referrals. You don't pick your brain surgeon out of the yellow pages. Get referrals.
So some other things, mover or broker doesn't perform an on-site inspection of your household items or gives you an estimate over the phone. That something's going on there.
Yeah, something's
right. Mover does or broker doesn't provide written estimates that will determine the cost after loading, or the moving company demands cash or large deposit before moving. Legitimate moving companies will accept credit cards or checks after you move. So just note those are some key items there. We're going to take a break. When we come back, homeowners, how you can avoid mortgage relief scams that are out there. With us continuing, Randy Rocky. He is the head guy over at Swan Financial. You can reach him anytime, 645-0736. Also, Chuck Crosby. He's the owner of the Crosby Law Offices at 499-6360. I'm Bob Sokoler. If you're thinking about selling your home now or in the future, please don't hesitate. Give me a call. Free, no obligation estimate. We can come out. We'll talk. I will. Then we can review, and also we'll set up a search for a home that you may be wanting to buy. We are back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. To the top of the hour we go. Thank you, Barbara Corcoran. We really do appreciate it. Barbara is a great lady, mentor, and endorses us here in Louisville, and we thank her for all the help that we talked to her about. With us continuing, Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a variety of things, including a great job getting the loan closed. your loan. And you can also get a will done by Chuck. And I will tell you, he's done my will, and I can endorse him, having worked with him. He's great. You can reach Chuck 499-6360. Also, Randy Rocky. He is one of the head guys over at Swan Financial. They do a great job not only getting you pre-approved, but to the closing table. And Randy's not only located in Louisville, but also Bowling Green. We are heard down in Bowling Green, so we should tell you that. You can reach Randy, 645-0736. And me, Bob Sokoler, thinking about selling. We would love to help you. Free, no obligation analysis. Come out. We can talk, come up with a path on what you need to do to get the home sold. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right, so here's a lot of scams going on these days in all different areas, but there are some homeowner scams, relief scams, especially for people who are having difficulty paying their mortgages. And guys, feel free to jump in here and review. But these are scammers who often pose as government officials or mortgage experts, and they may promise homeowners that they can help avoid foreclosure or modify the mortgage loan. However, these promises are also false, and homeowners can fall victim to the scams and lose their homes and their money. Anything that you want to add to that, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, scams are all over the place. Shoot, I get phone calls on a regular basis where someone calls up and says, "Hey, these people contacted me. They said they could do this for me, blah, blah, blah." And it just doesn't sound right. You just hear it. But with what you're talking about, well, shoot, the government's got websites you can go to for tips and for phone numbers to call someone. The idea is if someone calls you up out of the blue and offers you something and they're asking for money up front, or they're promising you a loan modification, or, hey, give me your private information like social security numbers. I mean, those right there, that's when you just hang up the phone.
Yep. You're right on target. Absolutely.
Well, and another area that scammers are great is scaring you and then having you go into different type of places like Coinstars and things of that nature. Yes, where you go in those scenarios. So anytime they're wanting you to wire money, make sure you call and check 2 or 3 times with the scenario, if it's whatever it is, and call them and verify that you need to do that.
Yeah, and it was like you were talking about a minute ago with the movers.
Yeah.
If using a credit card's not going to be permitted, you have to use some other form. Think about why. I mean, a credit card can be stopped. There's fraud protection with that. But if I have to Venmo, or I have to, do the Coinstar things, anything like that, that is not money that can be stopped necessarily, at least not easily. So that's what they're doing right there. But I get those phone calls, and they do that scare tactic. Call people. I had somebody call me last week. The quote, sheriff's office called him and said there was an outstanding warrant for his wife, and he needed to go to one of those, I think it was a Coinstar, to send money to the sheriff, keep him from executing a warrant. And it's like, no.
Yeah, no, I've dealt with that myself. So I know it's scary because they make it sound legit.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they're very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if it's not you, if they were to ask you, you'd immediately go, "Oh no, that's nonsense." But when it's you, when you hear the voice, it's like they get right under your skin, and then you're just not so sure, are you?
So a couple of things, as Chuck mentioned, if they're asking for an upfront fee, first of all, you get the phone call from somebody, don't just ignore it. But if you're calling and they ask for an upfront fee, be concerned. If you're asked to transfer your deed to your home, be concerned. If the individual or company helping you asks to make future mortgage payments directly to them, be concerned. If you are asked not to contact your current mortgage company, be concerned. So that actually is the key, is call your mortgage company first and see what they can do. Right. They went through this. Yeah. They went through this many years ago, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. They hopefully are better prepared for folks who are having problems with their mortgage. As we mentioned earlier, the unemployment rate is low. Randy talked about this at the top of the show.
Oh, and there's actually a government entity in Kentucky that is situated to do just that. Save My Kentucky Home is their website, and I mean that's the place to go.
Yeah, you talk about that at all closings. I know.
It's on every closing.
Yeah, right, exactly. So if you want to hear a replay of this show, To get more of this information back to or share it with folks, you can go to LouisvilleAnswers.com, LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's a redirect to our YouTube channel. Also, while you're at it, if you want to see what buyers and sellers are saying about us, go to LouisvilleGoogle.com or LouisvilleZillow.com. That's in writing, so you can actually read it. We go back over to Chuck Crosby over at the Crosby Law Office. Connor has a fascinating question. He writes in this email, and you can send me an email, folks, bob@wesellouisville.com. Put in the subject line radio question, and then in the body of the email, give me the question. He writes, he put an offer in through his agent in Oldham County for a condo. The seller countered back. The negotiations went through 2 rounds and finally were agreed to by both the buyer and the seller. Here's the catch. Connor's agent realized after both parties agreed to the price, the original offer contract was never officially signed by the seller. So Connor is asking, does that make the contract void? So there was a contract that goes back and forth. There's finally agreement, but the original contract, the very first volley, as we would say, was not signed by the seller. Is it void, Chuck?
Okay, so we have an agreement where hugs and handshakes, and we have signatures from all parties on that document, correct?
On the final agreement, yes.
On the final agreement. Now, was this kind of the, where you're just saying, oh, no, I'll agree to everything except A, B, and C?
Yeah, the impression I got was no, that they actually came to terms. They agreed on what that was going to be in terms of price, but he just looked back and there was no signature by the seller on the original contract.
Well,
Interesting, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, that is. If they've come to an agreement at the end, I would say that's going to be an actual agreement, mainly because when they came back and did a counteroffer, that's a rejection of the original. And then the next counter is a rejection of the counter. So when they finally did come to the agreement, I assume that it would incorporate certain parts of the original contract document, but that's something you always want to have part of it. Say, hey, we incorporate all of the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
But
that's 2 thoughts on that. So if he wants to go through, if Connor wants to go through with the deal, I would suggest that he and his agent send.
Go back and get all the signatures.
Get the signatures corrected. But if Connor wants to pull out, and this could be a battle of who said who and what said what.
Yeah.
There is a way to get out of it in the inspection clause where you just do a termite inspection and you pull out on inspection. So
I don't know that. You see, with having an agreement at the end signed off by all parties, I think you can argue that the meeting of the minds was on the entire document.
Yeah.
But it's not I wouldn't say that's 100% shot, but I'd say that's it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's why I would say, Connor, if you really want the house, go back, make sure you got documents signed. You can always do that post like now. And or if you don't want the house, then you can pull out on the inspection clause. It's cleaner than trying to argue that there was not a signature on the original contract, because that could get caught up in a variety of mediation or arbitration. We go back over to Randy Rocky over at Swan Financial. William plans to sell his current home and buy a new one in the next 4 months. The email he sent us, he is wondering what documents does he need to be able to apply for a mortgage, not only with Swan, but whoever else he charges. What's the main?
W-2s, the last 2 years, your 2 most updated pay stubs, and really outside of that, also whatever assets we need for a down payment. And those are the 3 big things, unless there's some other factors. Once we pull credit that we need, that those are the 3 things that we really need to start with.
And this time of year is also particularly tricky because we're going to get new W-2s coming out if you're a paid salary employee.
Right.
So will you need to provide those to the mortgage company as well if he applies in the next couple of months?
Yes, in the next couple of months they will. But if they close in January, no, it's not required at that point to have the W-2s to them. So no, that would not be the case. We just use their end of the year pay stub. Would be very easy to accumulate how much money that they made in 2023.
Got it. This should be the final question for Chuck Crosby, and it's a doozy. Vanessa, Chuck, planned on buying a condo in Louisville last month In this email, she's writing that it would be her first property, but Vanessa also has a service dog. And the condo rules and regulations specifically say pets are not allowed. And so Vanessa is wondering, is it legal for the condo association to discriminate against her and her dog if the dog is a service dog? Chuck?
Quick answer is no. And I can give you the phone number of 3 different local agencies and one state agency out of Lexington that would be happy to jump on that issue.
Do you think this is a common problem with condo associations?
You get the phone call occasionally.
Yeah.
Usually if the condo association has a management company, if the HOA has a management company, the management company rides herd on that kind of stuff, and they realize, that the ADA, requires certain things, et cetera, et cetera. But occasionally you will get member-run HOAs, and they just go off the rails on things. So, there's that. But yeah, if you want to try discriminating in that fashion, I can tell you that it's not difficult to find the governmental agencies or the quasi-governmental agencies that will represent them for free on a housing discrimination claim.
Yeah. Okay, good. So condo associations, be prepared for the fallout if you're not up on the regulations for this type of a problem. We are out of time. I should tell you, next week, we will tell you the temperature that you should set your thermostat at in the winter. This is a new research that came out. Should be interesting. Our thanks, of course, to Chuck Crosby. He is the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job of getting your loan closed, but they also do evictions, appeals from judgments, and also wills and powers of attorney. You can reach Chuck anytime, 499-6360. Also, Randy Rocky, who is the head guy one of the head guys at Swan Financial, both here in Louisville and in Bowling Green. You can reach Randy and his group at 645-0736. If you're thinking of selling your home, we would love to help you. All you need to do is, I would love to help you. Give me a call. Come out for a free, no obligation kind of a plan of what you need or not need to do to get the home on the market and sold. And it doesn't matter if it's next month or next year or the years beyond. I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me on my cell, 502-376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We're at a time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.